Imagine this, you have spent months planning your dream retirement trip to Hawaii. The tickets are bought, the hotel is booked, and you have physically arrived at the airport. You have gone through the check-in line, got your bags tagged, and now you are standing at the TSA security checkpoint. You are excited. You hand the TSA agent your boarding pass and your standard state-issued driver's license, the same one you have used for decades. But the agent looks at it, hands it back and says, "I'm sorry. I cannot accept this ID. You will not be allowed to proceed to the gate." Your heart drops. You look behind you at the long line of people waiting. You try to argue, but they tell you the rules have changed. You miss your flight. Your trip is over before it began. As a lead flight attendant for 12 years, I have seen almost every travel nightmare you can imagine. But this particular nightmare is entirely preventable. And today, I'm going to make sure it never happens to you. Welcome to our pre-flight briefing. If you are new here, I'm Elena. For over a decade, my office was the galley of a Boeing 777, serving as a U.S. lead flight attendant. I have welcomed thousands of seniors aboard, managed medical emergencies over the Atlantic, and ensured that everyone from grandchildren to great-grandparents made it to their destination safely. These days, I work as a senior travel consultant. I traded my wings for an office to help travelers just like you navigate the stressful logistics of modern travel. I often tell my clients that travel should be about the destination, not the headache of getting through the airport. However, we are currently facing the biggest shift in domestic travel security since 2001, and I am deeply concerned that millions of American travelers, specifically my favorite demographic, those over 60, are going to be left grounded at the gate. I don't want to scare you. I want to arm you with knowledge. Think of me as your knowledgeable niece who has the inside track on the airline industry. I'm here to give you the straight talk that the government websites make far too confusing. The scenario I described in the introduction isn't science fiction, it is the new reality. We are approaching what the Department of Homeland Security is calling the final deadline for real ID enforcement. After this date, a standard driver's license will not get you past that TSA agent for a domestic flight. It doesn't matter if you are flying from New York to Florida to see the grandkids, or from Chicago to Las Vegas for a high school reunion. If you have to clear TSA, you need a federally compliant ID. I have stood in that checkpoint line during the holiday rush, and I have seen the chaos when passengers are unprepared. Trust me, you do not want to be the reason the line stops. You don't want to deal with the embarrassment of being turned away, and more importantly, you don't want to lose the thousands of dollars you have invested in non-refundable airline tickets, cruises, or tours. The clock is ticking. This deadline has been pushed back several times, leading many to believe it would be pushed back again. But my industry sources tell me the runway is ending. This is it. Today, we are going to do a full pre-flight check on your wallet to make sure you are cleared for takeoff. Now, before we get to the solution, we have to understand the problem. There is so much governmental jargon and red tape surrounding this issue that I see my clients' eyes glaze over the moment I mention it. Let's ground the jargon and simplify this completely. What is a real ID really? First, let's talk about what it is not. Despite some confusing information out there, a real ID is not a national identification card issued by Washington, D.C. It is still your state-issued driver's license or state ID card, just like the one you have always had. The difference is behind the scenes. Back in 2005, Congress passed the Real ID Act based on a critical recommendation from the 9/11 Commission. The Commission found that the standards for issuing IDs varied wildly from state to state, making it far too easy for terrorists and criminals to obtain fraudulent identification. The Real ID Act set a minimum security standard for state DMVs. It mandates uniform procedures for how DMVs verify your identity, your social security number, and your lawful status in the U.S. before they can issue you a license. It's about making sure that the person holding the ID is actually the person named on the ID. It's all about security. So, why are you just hearing about this final push now? Well, my dear travelers, because this has been a decades-long bureaucratic tug-of-war. States fought the federal government over cost, technology, and states' rights. Many states delayed implementation for years. Because of these delays, the federal government had to grant extensions over and over again. But that game of bureaucratic hot potato has finally stopped. The Department of Homeland Security has drawn a firm line in the sand. Here is the key insight I need you to take away. This isn't just about driving. A standard, Non-compliant license is still perfectly valid for driving, voting, or entering a hospital. Where it becomes a barrier is when you try to access federally controlled facilities. For travelers, that means two major things: entering a secure military base like visiting a family member, or boarding a federally regulated commercial aircraft. Therefore, you don't technically need a real ID to live your daily life, but if you want to fly anywhere in the United States, you must have federally accepted identification. Your current state license is about to lose its boarding pass. In the next chapter, I'm going to show you exactly how to look at your current license to see if you are already compliant or if you need to schedule a visit to the DMV. Okay, travelers, pre-flight briefing is over. It's time for some immediate in-flight service. I want you to do something for me right now. Don't wait until the video is over. Pause this video if you need to. Walk over to your purse or your wallet and pull out your current driver's license or state-issued ID card. Go ahead. I'll wait right here. Got it? Good. Now, I want you to look very closely at the top right-hand corner of that piece of plastic. In about 90% of the states, this is where the golden ticket is located. What are we looking for? We are looking for the mark because the Department of Homeland Security needed a way for TSA agents to instantly, visually verify compliance in a crowded airport security line. They mandated that all real ID-compliant cards have a specific marking. In most states, it is a star. It might be a gold star. It might be a black star. It might even be a star cut out of a gold circle. If you live in California, you are looking for a star inside the outline of the California grizzly bear. If you see that star, congratulations. You're cleared for takeoff. You have a real ID, and you can stop worrying about the deadline. However, if you are looking at your license and there is no star, or worse, if you see the words, "Not for federal identification" or "Federal limits apply" written across the top, then we have work to do. This means you have a standard traditional license. It is perfectly fine for driving or buying a bottle of wine, but come that final deadline, it will not get you past the TSA checkpoint. I need to explain the history of why airlines and the TSA are so obsessed with this visual marker because it connects directly to your safety. Back in the galley, we used to talk about the ripple effect. Airlines operate on incredibly tight schedules. A delay of just 5 minutes at the gate can result in a flight losing its departure slot, adding 30 minutes to the flight time, and causing dozens of passengers to miss their connections. Before Real ID, TSA agents had to examine dozens of different formats of state licenses, many with outdated security features. This caused massive bottlenecks at security checkpoints. Airlines hated this because it caused gateside delays. Passengers were stuck in security when they should have been boarding the plane. More importantly, those old standard licenses were too easy to counterfeit. The rationale for the star is that it guarantees to the TSA that your state's DMV has met rigorous federal standards to prove you are exactly who you say you are. It's a crucial layer of safety in a post-9/11 world, but here is the part the airlines hope you never find out, and as your consultant, it breaks my heart when I see it happen. If you show up to the airport without a compliant ID after the deadline and you are turned away, the airline is not obligated to refund your ticket. In their view, it is your responsibility to have the correct documentation. If you miss your flight because of an invalid ID, you lose that money. For many seniors on a fixed income, a missed trip is not just a disappointment. It is a significant financial loss that they cannot easily recover. Let's make sure that doesn't happen. If you don't have the star, the next chapter is your flight plan to success. Okay, so you checked your wallet and you don't have the star. Your next destination, unfortunately, is the DMV. I know. For many of my senior clients, hearing DMV is about as welcome as hearing ground delay due to mechanical issues. We think of long lines, confusing forms, and bureaucratic headaches. But as your niece in the business, I am going to make this DMV trip painless. The hidden secret to dominating your DMV visit is to treat it like an international flight. You must have your manifest of documents in order before you arrive. For a real ID, you cannot just renew online. For the first time you get that star, federal law requires you to show up in person and prove your identity through physical documentation. You need to gather a very specific checklist of 4 categories of documents. If you have these in a folder, you will breeze through that appointment. First, proof of identity. This proves you are a lawful U.S. citizen or are lawfully present. For most of you, this will be your valid U.S. passport or your original certified birth certificate. Second, proof of social security number. This must be the actual physical social security card or a tax document like a W-2 or a 1099 form that has your full social security number printed on it. A pay stub can sometimes work too. Third, 2 proofs of state residency. This proves you live where you say you live. Think of utility bills, electric, gas, water, a mortgage statement, a lease agreement, or even your voter registration card. Crucially, the address on both of these must match exactly, and they must match the address where you want them to mail your new license. Now, that sounds simple enough, but here's where I need to be protective of my female travelers over 60, and I'm going to reveal an industry secret that causes massive bottlenecks for seniors. I remember a flight to London in 2015. We were delayed boarding because of a documentation issue with a lovely passenger, Mrs. Carol Thompson. Carol was traveling on her passport, but she had booked the ticket in her married name, while her passport, which she hadn't renewed recently, was still in her maiden name. The gate agent was required to verify one person, one name. It took 20 minutes of stressful phone calls to airline security to sort it out and let her board. Carol was embarrassed and flustered for the first 3 hours of the flight. The DMV has this exact same rule, but they are 10 times stricter. This is the hidden secret that catches seniors by surprise: the name trail. If your name today is different than the name on your birth certificate, perhaps due to marriage, divorce, or a legal name change, you must provide a connecting document for every single name change. For many women in this demographic, this means if you were born Jane Doe, got married and became Jane Smith, then divorced and became Jane Jones, you cannot just bring your birth certificate Doe and your utility bill Jones. The DMV will turn you away. You must bring the certified marriage certificate Doe to Smith and the certified divorce decree Smith to Jones to prove the name trail. I urge you to find these original documents now. They are often buried in safety deposit boxes or attics. Don't wait until the deadline rush. If you wait, you will face massive delays at the DMV, and the anxiety of trying to locate a marriage certificate from 40 years ago while your vacation deadline approaches is a safety risk to your blood pressure and mental well-being. Preparation is the best anti-vibration tool we have in this industry. Okay, we have grounded the jargon, checked your wallet, and survived the DMV paperwork checklist. But as a senior travel consultant, I know that my clients' lives rarely fit perfectly into a government checkbox. When I'm doing a consultation for a traveler over 60, we often run into specific scenarios that cause confusion. Airlines and DMVs operate on rigid rules, but your life is fluid. Let's look at some galley truths, the inside perspective on these complex cases. The first question I get from seniors is this: Elena, I surrendered my driver's license years ago. I don't drive anymore. Do I need to worry about this real ID thing? My dear travelers, yes you do. If you have any intention of boarding a domestic flight, perhaps to visit a grandchild, attend a wedding, or take that bucket list Alaskan cruise, you still need federally accepted identification. The rule is about boarding the plane, not operating it. The good news is that every state offers a state identification card that looks almost identical to a driver's license but has no driving privileges. When you go to the DMV, you ask for a Real ID compliant state ID card. It will have the same gold star, and it will get you through the TSA checkpoint. In many states, these ID cards are cheaper than a driver's license, and for seniors over a certain age, they are sometimes even free. The next scenario is for my snowbirds, those lucky travelers who live in New York in the summer and Florida in the winter, for example. The common question is, I have a home in 2 states. Which license should be my real ID? Here's the part the airlines hope you never find out, and the DMVs are terrible at explaining. You can only hold one Real ID compliant driver's license at a time. Federal law prohibits you from having a Real ID license from 2 different states. You must choose the state where you claim your legal primary residence. If you pay taxes, are registered to vote, and have your car registered in Florida, that is your primary residence. Your Florida license must be the one with the star. In your summer state, you can usually get a standard seasonal resident license or just use your Florida license while you are there. Now, I need to address a major safety and financial security concern for seniors. As the final deadline approaches, scammers are going to start targeting this demographic. You may receive an email, a text message, or even a phone call from someone claiming to be from the Real ID department or your state's DMV. They will tell you that you can fast-track your Real ID application online or avoid the DMV line by paying a small fee and giving them your personal information. This is 100% a scam. As I explained in the last chapter, federal law absolutely mandates that the very first time you get that star on your ID, you must appear in person and show original documents. You cannot do this through a third-party website, and you cannot do it entirely online. If someone is asking for your social security number and birth date over the phone to process your Real ID, they are trying to steal your identity and access your retirement accounts. Do not engage with them. Only trust your official state DMV website, which always ends in .gov, or your local DMV office. We have spent a lot of time discussing the DMV, the red tape, and the stress of getting that little gold star on your driver's license. But as your senior travel consultant and someone who spent 12 years watching passengers interact with TSA agents, I'm going to reveal a lead FA opinion. Personally, I prefer not to use a driver's license at the TSA security checkpoint at all. This is the hidden industry secret that the DMV doesn't advertise, but your airlines and travel agents absolutely love. If you have a valid US passport book, you already have a Real ID. The Real ID Act mandates security standards for state-issued identification. A U.S. passport is a federally issued identification. It automatically meets and exceeds every single federal security standard for boarding a domestic flight. It is the original Real ID. If you already have a valid U.S. passport and you're only flying domestically, say from Atlanta to visit the grandkids in Dallas, you don't need to do anything at the DMV. You can keep your standard, not for federal identification driver's license in your wallet for driving, and simply use your passport book to get through TSA. It is the simplest, stress-free, get-out-of-jail-free card in the aviation industry. But maybe you don't like traveling with your big, bulky passport book for a domestic trip, and I understand that. You don't want to lose it or damage it. This is where I want to introduce you to the flight crew's favorite alternative. The U.S. passport card. When you apply for or renew your passport, you have the option to add a passport card for a small additional fee. It looks exactly like a driver's license. It fits in your wallet. It is federally issued. It is automatically Real ID compliant for domestic flights. And for seniors, it has a 10-year validity. Just like the book. Here is my expert consultation. For my clients over 60, the passport alternative is often the superior choice for 2 reasons. 1. Avoid the DMV bottleneck. Millions of Americans are still not compliant, and the closer we get to the final deadline, the worse the lines at the DMV are going to get. If you already have a passport, you can renew it by mail, entirely bypassing that logistical mechanical failure. 2. Safety and security. If you are a senior who doesn't drive as much and perhaps doesn't want the financial exposure of having your social security number and birth certificate digitized by a state DMV, using a passport offers an added layer of financial safety. In the airline industry, we use precise timelines. We have pushback time, takeoff time, and arrival time. We cannot wing it, and neither can you with the Real ID deadline. This date has been pushed back over and over again for nearly 2 decades. Because of that, I see a dangerous complacency among American travelers, specifically those in the 60-plus demographic. They think, oh, they'll push it back again. I'll worry about it later. As your knowledgeable niece in the business, I'm here to give you the hard truth. My industry sources, people working in airport operations and in Washington, D.C., tell me that the extensions are over. There is zero political or security appetite for another delay. The runway for the final approach has ended. Homeland Security is calling this the final deadline. After this date, a standard, non-compliant license will not be accepted by TSA. There is no grace period. I want you to visualize what is going to happen on day 1, the first day after the deadline. Picture the busiest holiday travel rush you have ever seen, and then multiply it. Currently, tens of millions of American travelers are still not compliant. Many states are only 50% compliant for their senior demographic. This means millions of people are going to wait until the last possible minute. States are already forecasting a massive bottleneck at the DMV. It can take 6 to 8 weeks in some states just to get an appointment, and then another 4 to 6 weeks for them to actually mail you the new piece of plastic. Here's my expert financial and logistical consultant advice. I am urging my clients who are over 60 to adopt the 6-month safe approach. Do not wait until your standard driver's license expires. Don't wait until your birthday if it falls after the deadline. I remember a flight back from Hawaii during the initial rollout of new security protocols. We had a charming older couple who were incredibly organized. They had a folder with all their documentation, but several passengers around them were flustered, which caused a dynamic bottleneck at the TSA lane. This couple ended up almost missing their flight because of other people's lack of preparation. The goal is to be fully compliant with the star on your ID or your new passport card in your hand at least 6 months before that final deadline. On day 1 after enforcement begins, there will be massive delays. TSA agents will be scrutinized and they will examine every ID more closely. Even if you have a real ID, you might get caught in the dynamic mechanical delay caused by the confusion. If you don't have one, you will be stopped and you will miss your vacation. Preparation is the only anti-vibration tool that works. Okay, travelers, we are coming in for a smooth landing. I know that the topic of federal identification, DMV bureaucracy, and final deadlines sounds like massive turbulence. It can be overwhelming, and governmental jargon is designed to confuse, but I want you to remember what I told you at the gate when we began this briefing. Travel is not just a luxury, it is a right. Your ability to visit your grandchildren, explore your beautiful country, or enjoy that well-earned retirement cruise is not something that a bureaucratic star should ever stop. Airlines value checklists because they make complex systems manageable. So, based on my 12 years in uniform and my consultation work, I have created your definitive Real ID pre-flight master checklist. Check your wallet today. If you have the golden star or bear, you are cleared for takeoff. If not, go to step 2. Adopt Elena's golden rule. Gather the name trail. This is vital for seniors. Original certified marriage certificates and divorce decrees must connect your birth certificate name to your current legal name. Choose your strategy. Will you go the DMV route using my document manifest, or the passport book card route, the pilot's choice to avoid the DMV? Commit to the 6-month safe approach. Be compliant 6 months before the final deadline. Don't wait for your license to expire. To keep bringing you these updates weekly while I'm consulting, I use advanced technology to share my 12 years of experience. This allows me to stay in the air, researching these rules so you can stay secure and focus on the destination. Consider me your personal travel consultant and knowledgeable niece in the business. Now, I want to hear your galley stories. Have you already made that trip to the DMV? Share your experience below. Was it as bad as they say, or did you find a way to breeze through it? Your story might help a fellow traveler over 60, and if you have a complicated question, ask it below, and I'll do how to give you that inside FA perspective. If you found this briefing helpful, please hit that subscribe button and ring the bell. It helps me reach more travelers just like you who deserve a stress-free trip. This information is meant to empower you, not scare you. With this flight plan, you are in control. I'm Elena, your senior travel consultant. Thank you for flying with me today. Your adventure is just beginning. Let's fly right.